Hey folks, this is Rhykker, and there's some drama going on in the ARPG scene. Last Epoch has rescheduled its Season 2 start explicitly because Path of Exile 2 suddenly announced their big update was coming just 2 days after Last Epoch Season 2. Now, did Path of Exile 2 just take a swing at the little guy? Or is this all just an unfortunate scheduling coincidence? Plus, Diablo players are divided again on the new season as PTR testing comes to a close this week. Assassin's Creed Shadows has released, and Ubisoft is setting up anti-harassment measures for its devs. Monster Hunter Wilds is crushing records. We'll talk about all of this and more as we dive into our weekly gaming news video. Do subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new episodes. Now, if you're playing Diablo 4 Season 7 with the Mother's Blessing event currently running and need any guides, I keep my video content categorized on my website, Rhykker.com, which brings us to a word from this video's sponsor. I built my website using Squarespace, and I was able to do everything myself, quickly and easily, and with zero education in the field, all thanks to how easy Squarespace is to work with. Squarespace even has a new AI tool called Design Intelligence, which combines 2 decades of industry-leading web design expertise with the latest AI tech to empower you to build a beautiful-looking, personalized website made exactly for your needs and your unique identity. Squarespace even has optimized SEO tools so that you can launch your website and start getting views as quickly as possible. Squarespace is flexible for any kind of website with tons of design options to pick from. You can easily connect all your social accounts and also upload your video content and organize your video library. You can sell products or services, and with Squarespace Payment, you got an easy way to manage your payments in one place. You're just a few clicks away from being able to receive payments through your website, all while offering customers popular payment methods like Apple Pay, ClearPay, Klarna, and ACH Direct Debit. Basically, if you want to build a website, I recommend Squarespace. So head to squarespace.com/Rhykker or click the link in the description to start your free trial and use code Rhykker to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/RHYKKER and use code Rhykker. All right, let's start off with the big Last Epoch news. Season 2, titled Tombs of the Erased, has officially been delayed to April 17th. Developer EHG made the tough call after Path of Exile 2 announced their big early access patch would launch just 2 days after Last Epoch's original date. Game director and studio founder Judd Kobler admitted the decision was made to avoid splitting the ARPG community and harming their game's crucial launch momentum. He tweeted, quote, "We've recently learned that our friends in the ARPG space have chosen a release date just a couple days after ours, which would divide the player base and hinder the success of our Season 2 launch. Last Epoch is still a smaller studio in this space that looks towards each of its launches as a way to continue to sustain the studio financially and work on the things we are most passionate about. It is with a heavy heart that we are forced to move our release date of Season 2, Tombs of the Erased, to April 17th. Judd's an absolute class act. This came after there'd been quite a bit of uproar in the community, with many people upset with PoE Studio Grinding Gear Games over what felt like an attack on Last Epoch. Anecdotally, it's been reported within the Last Epoch community that 11th Hour Games had even reached out to GGG months ago to inform them of their planned launch date to ensure no scheduling conflicts. But from Judd's tweet, they were clearly blindsided once the patch date for PoE 2 was revealed. Now, is it possible that GGG picked their patch date with malicious intent to undercut Last Epoch's launch? Yes, it is possible, but a charitable interpretation would be that given unexpected development delays brought on by giving more support to PoE 1, plus certain PoE 2 systems needing more work, altogether just means that, Dawn of the Hunt would have had to come later than GGG expected, but maybe they also had some hard internal deadlines and they could not possibly push back the patch another week or two for some legitimate reasons. Sure, that is also a possibility. But even in the most charitable interpretation, if there was no malintent at all, if it is indeed true that EHG communicated with GGG to ensure no conflict of scheduling, then the least that GGG could have done was give EHG a heads up as soon as they knew that April 4th would be their target date, so that EHG could adjust their plans accordingly before settling a bunch of, promotional contracts for their release that they now have to figure out how to deal with, right? Because between sponsoring streamers and establishing contracts for specific dates, all that needs to be redone now, plus all their internal plans of launching on certain times, their servers, I'm imagining that for the launch, they're ramping up their servers, all that needs to be rescheduled, all their internal embargo dates with whatever potential journalism outlets that they've arranged, whatever they might have arranged, I don't know. It's a big disruption of plans, and EHG does not do it frivolously, and it's giving them a lot more work now. Now, that said, does GGG owe EHG anything? No. Do they have to go out of their way to avoid stepping on EHG's shoes? No. Is it unusual in the gaming industry to see companies schedule their releases around the same time as other games in order to try to cripple them or steal their success or their player base? No, it's not unusual. But we hold GGG to a higher standard. For the same reason that we forgive GGG for mistakes that we would crucify other devs for, we expect better from them. Because they have been better over the years. That's why they're so beloved. They've become the stewards of the ARPG genre. They're a studio that have earned their players' adoration through years of building goodwill in the ARPG scene. They're seen as the good guys. If they scheduled a league start to undercut a Diablo 3 season, well, that'd just be David versus Goliath. But now, they've become the Goliath, and EHG is the little guy. When AAA studios try to undercut each other's launches, well, that's just business. You expect corporations to act like soulless, evil business money-making machines. But when you're punching down on the little guy, a small indie studio that could be one failed launch away from shutting down, well, that doesn't feel right. And GGG knows what it's like to be that little guy. As the stewards of the ARPG genre, we would hope for them to want to encourage new and upcoming indie ARPGs, because competition is how you test your mettle. It's how you prove that you have the best product out there, not by cutting down the competition at its knees and not even giving it a chance. Now, again, I don't think we can say that GGG did this with malicious intent. Maybe they didn't even know or remember that Last Epoch's launch date was on the 2nd of April, but they should have known. There's only a couple other ARPGs on the market, and each of these games should be paying attention to what the others are doing. And when they're doing it, even if you just have literally one person in your entire company whose responsibility it is to keep tabs on the other games. So again, there was a strong reaction within the community. Lots of streamers especially were lamenting the release dates being so close together. And as a consequence, I was seeing a lot of people saying that this is just a streamer problem. That, having the two release dates close to each other only hurts streamers and their wallets, and that's why they're bitching and complaining so much. And honestly, this is the most myopic take possible, as evidenced by EHG moving their release date back, because they wouldn't have done that if they didn't think it was important, if this was just a streamer problem. And given the situation that EHG was put in, EHG made the best decision that they could have made. They did the right move for all parties involved by pushing back the release date. Yes, streamers benefit by being able to ride two spaced out waves of content rather than being forced to pick one game to stream over the other, but EHG also benefits because streamers are their advertising. They sponsor streamers to play their game because that is a huge part of their marketing strategy. They're not Blizzard, who can spend millions on buying giant billboards in Times Square to promote their games. Streamers are their core marketing tactic, and their hope is that streamers are going to keep playing their game beyond the sponsored segment. But if there's some other game taking attention away that streamers have to move on to because of a big launch, then fewer streamers are going to be streaming Last Epoch, and that means fewer viewers are watching Last Epoch, and that translates into fewer conversions from viewers to players, and fewer players means less money, which means it becomes increasingly difficult to fund ongoing development of the game. So even if you are just a player of Last Epoch, even if you didn't care about the PoE launch, you were going to just only play Last Epoch, and you thought this would not affect you in any way, this is still a you problem. This is still a problem for you, because if you like Last Epoch and you want to keep enjoying it, then you want the game and the company to be successful, and you don't want the studio to shut down because no one's playing the game. And this Season 2 patch, this is the single most important release since their launch over a year ago. They have been cooking for months. This is not like Diablo 4 Season 7, just some other season, and if it goes poorly, oh well, you know, they can't all be bangers, I guess. I don't want to claim that this is do or die for Last Epoch, but if this season is not successful, it will be exceptionally difficult for Last Epoch to ever come back into relevance. And that would have been clear to any competitor out there as well, who would see an opportunity here to end the threat of Last Epoch for good by crippling their launch. So even if, again, GGG did not do this out of malice, and I don't believe they did, many people will see what happened and believe that they did do it out of malice, and that kind of makes it important for GGG to come out and make a statement on this. You know, just a little, we support our friends at EHG, and explaining why they picked the date that they picked, and that they wish EHG and GGG well, and then we can all feel, alright, GGG's still the good guys, everyone is simpatico, we don't have to pick teams here, because what's best for the ARPG genre as a whole, not for any one game or any one company, what's best for the genre is for there to be multiple good ARPGs out there, because competition breeds a better product. When you have no competition, you get complacent, you get lazy. When there's someone else out there with good ideas, that forces you to do your best every time. And who benefits the most from that? Us, the gamers. A high tide raises all ships. It's obvious that these games are looking at each other, taking ideas from each other, and that's good. It shouldn't be seen as stealing. It's the strengthening of the genre. New ideas emerge, and it doesn't matter which game, which company it came from, if now this is just what an ARPG is. Anyway, how do you folks feel about all of this? Drop your opinions down in the comments below. Moving on to some Diablo news. The Season 8 PTR has come and gone, and opinions from players seem divided. For some players, the feedback so far can be pretty much summed up as more grind, less fun. In last week's video, I spoke about how I think we basically need two servers going forward. One with Season 7 progression and drop rates, right? The super fast stuff that was a fan favorite for a lot of people. And then one with Season 8 progression and drop rates for people like me that enjoy that slower but not molasses slow progression. Because again, people are still split on what they like. And the season theme, Season 8 overall, once again, it's not breaking new ground. Lots of players are feeling like things are becoming formulaic every season. Like, you know, every season, okay, what's the new powers that we're going to farm? What's the new activity that is some variation of an existing activity that we're going to farm? And in Season 8, farming that seasonal content kind of becomes repetitive and grindy because the new event is pretty straightforward, small in scale, and you need a lot of materials to level up your powers. For myself personally, I feel it's kind of a shame that the seasonal event does not feel like a viable activity pre-level 60. It's just not rewarding enough to warrant going out of your way for and slow down your progress to 60. That means that unless they change something drastically, in Season 8, not only is it going to take longer to reach 60, but there's also nothing new to do, really, or that's effective for you to do while getting to 60. Unlike Season 7, where we had like Witch Tide, which was a new and fun way to experience the game. So I can see it just now taking longer to do the same old stuff is going to be quite unpopular for a lot of players who are already complaining about the slower leveling. As for the balancing of the boss powers, some of them seem insanely strong in endgame content, though it's unclear how long you're going to need to actually farm up everything to get them to insane levels. But we're talking like billions of damage on the top end, which kind of turns your build simply into a delivery system for the boss powers damage, which I don't actually think is necessarily a bad thing. You know, if it's just a one season thing and it makes the season feel substantially different in meta to past seasons, you know, that could work. That said, I do imagine not all players will like this feeling that like their build kind of doesn't matter and it's whatever the boss power is that's doing all the damage. But still, I do expect them to at least do a balance pass on the boss powers. Meanwhile, I saw a neat post from Reddit user Diablo, who created this image as a means of expressing what loot drops we really care about, but honestly I kind of love this as a pseudo loot filter. Like, the devs don't want to give us loot filters, we've spoken about that in the past, sure, fine, but how about just options to color certain tiers of loot differently? We're not filtering out anything because that was their objection, they don't want to, I guess, hide loot. But we're just changing colors to our preference, right? The game already has excellent accessibility options for colorblind modes and all that, so why not just let us pick our own colors? Meanwhile, we're 2 seasons into the Dark Citadel being part of the game, and I'm wondering, how many people are playing the Dark Citadel? Sound off in the comments if you're playing it in Season 7. Because I think the Dark Citadel is the best designed activity in Diablo 4. I loved it in Season 6, but I didn't play it at all in Season 7. Partially because there's no new cosmetic for me to farm. Now, about 8 months ago, Blizzard said that I think 80% of D4 players play solo. And the Dark Citadel, plus the Party Finder in Vessel of Hatred, these were ways to try to skew those numbers the other way. And I wonder, what do the numbers look like now? Because if after those efforts, the numbers are still like 75% solo, maybe it is time to open up the Dark Citadel to be soloable. Let the mercenaries be able to help you complete those duo objectives. You know, if you really want to incentivize party play, maybe give a bonus chance to drops in a party, but don't lock solo players out entirely if most players are still solo players. And the reason for this is probably not what you think. So again, I think that the Dark Citadel is the best designed content in the game, and I want to see more raids like it. But if Blizzard's data is saying that only a small number of people are doing it, then they're not going to make more. So if making it soloable means more people are going to do it, and therefore they're going to make more of these, then I say go for it. Then lastly for Diablo, a surprising reveal from GDC confirmed that Diablo 4's greater affixes were a last-minute addition to Loot Reborn. Blizzard had only 2 weeks left on their schedule when the concept was proposed. Kind of crazy that something that is now so fundamentally impactful to our gameplay experience was just a late-breaking idea. Now, overall, how are you folks feeling about Season 8? Are you planning to play? Are you planning to skip? Sound off in the comments. Moving on to some Path of Exile news, we've got fresh teasers for Path of Exile 2 Dawn of the Hunt, which, as we said, is coming April 4th. Grinding Gear Games revealed new endgame encounters and teased a new Ascendancy class for warriors. Here's the teaser image, showing some kind of a blacksmith, I guess. Now, this does prominently show a sword, which gives us even more hints that swords may be coming with this update. We had kind of explained in a past video why we thought swords might be coming. But do remember that Warrior is a mace-based class overall. It is worth noting, however, that data-mined voice lines from 2 months ago referenced something called a Smith of Kitava in the context of it being a player class. So if there's anything we've seen so far that would qualify as being a Smith of Kitava, this is it. Now overall, this seems to kind of evoke Last Epoch Forge Guard vibes. We may see fire-based melee attacks, like maybe you're like imbuing your weapon with fire damage, you know, kind of powerful weapon enhancement kind of things. Who knows? Maybe even new ways to boost item quality. It would be kind of crazy to lock certain like crafting options to an Ascendancy even. But what do you folks think this new Ascendancy will be? Got any creative predictions or wishes even? Sound off in the comments. Moving on to some Assassin's Creed news, Ubisoft has apparently taken an aggressive stance against harassment aimed at the devs behind Assassin's Creed Shadows. According to a report by PC Games N, citing French news outlet BFM TV, Ubisoft has implemented a dedicated anti-harassment plan advising employees to avoid publicly sharing their involvement with the game on social media. Posts will reportedly be closely monitored with lawyers standing by to pursue legal action if harassment occurs. Ubisoft was reached for comment, and the response was that their top priority is the safety of their employees, though they maintain that the team members' social media accounts remain their own and not representative of Ubisoft. As for Assassin's Creed Shadows itself, reviews are coming in, and it's looking like another classic Ubisoft release. Solid, enjoyable, nothing groundbreaking. The game currently sits comfortably at an average score of 81 out of 100 on OpenCritic, with around 82% of critics recommending it. While Shadows has generally been praised for returning Assassin's Creed to its stealth roots, critics agree the game struggles with pacing and bloat. Many found themselves satisfied after 20 or 30 hours of play, only to realize that they're just like halfway through the game. Now, interestingly, a major criticism is the dual protagonist approach that the game takes. The samurai character feels kind of shoehorned in, is what some people are saying, and it kind of clashes awkwardly with the stealth-focused gameplay of the ninja or the shinobi protagonist. Critics feel Ubisoft may have misunderstood what fans truly wanted from an Assassin's Creed game set in feudal Japan, especially when compared to the beloved Ghost of Tsushima, which blended samurai and ninja elements seamlessly. Now, on a brighter note for PC gamers, Ubisoft seems to have gotten the message about its notorious launcher. Assassin's Creed Shadows on Steam will skip the standalone Ubisoft Connect launcher entirely. You just have to hook up your account, but after that, you're going to have a simple in-game login. You're not going to have to boot the game through the Ubisoft launcher, which just goes to show you how desperate Ubisoft is to make Shadows as successful as possible. Then in some Monster Hunter news, Wilds has stormed onto the scene as an absolute global powerhouse, selling a staggering 8 million copies in just its first 3 days. Now, even more impressive, in the US, it's already claimed the crown as 2025's best-selling game. And its PC players are leading the charge here. According to data from Circana, the PC launch month sales have more than doubled what Monster Hunter Rise managed when it debuted back in 2021. Now, despite all the excitement and praise about the gameplay, there's still a lot of grumbling about how poorly optimized it is on PC and the UI on PC as well. Seriously, it's like Capcom forgot mice exist when they designed the menus. And let's be real, Monster Hunter has never been famous for smooth PC launches. But hopefully now Capcom is realizing the PC market matters. Now, Wilds didn't just crush sales. It landed at number 3 on Newzoo's overall revenue chart for February, which is even crazier considering it launched on literally the last day of the month. And PC again took the spotlight here, dominating revenue charts ahead of PlayStation and Xbox. So hopefully, the days of PC gamers feeling neglected by Capcom are long behind us. What do you folks think? Is Monster Hunter Wilds good enough to overlook the rough PC optimization? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Then onto some Saints Row news. The series probably is gone for good. According to Saber Interactive CEO Matthew Karch, Saints Row had to die because the games simply became too expensive and directionless. In an interview with Stephen Totillo, Karch didn't mince words, saying, quote, "They didn't know what they were building. They didn't have any real direction. It couldn't last. And so who's going to fund them for the next game after that disaster?" Karch specifically pointed to the troubled 2022 reboot, which polarized the fanbase, disappointed the publisher, and eventually led to Volition's closure. He also painted a grim picture for the future of big-budget games altogether, stating bluntly, quote, "The days of throwing money at games other than maybe the GTAs of the world is over. It's over. This business needs to mature." Now, fans online aren't quite buying this excuse that cost is the real killer of Saints Row. A lot of people are arguing Saints Row died because it lost its identity. It ignored feedback and delivered a game that ultimately nobody asked for. But what's your take, folks? Could Saints Row have survived if they'd stuck closer to the vibe of Saints Row 2, what fans really loved about the franchise, or was the downfall just inevitable? Lastly, folks, I just want to call attention to a video that I posted yesterday. It's for this upcoming game called Mandragora. That video is sponsored, but I'm not sponsored now to say that I'm really loving the game. I really want to keep playing it. I really look forward to the release. And I encourage you folks to check out that video to learn more about Mandragora. And that's going to wrap up this week's video, folks. But do be sure to check out last week's video in which we discuss the divide between casual players and blasters in Diablo 4. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more gaming content.